you know, the fact that he has pitched so many innings last year, you know, in the KBO is so different than most of the pitchers that pitched last year. I think all these players have great physical skills. I mean, some are obviously off the charts, Hall of Famers, and different than other guys. But I do think baseball is a lot mental. You know, you may have some success early, but then they say, okay, we sit on this, you know, we sit on his curveball, or we know where he's going to go, we know he's going to throw here. It's a game of adjustments. And I think you have to be tough mentally to be able to do that. I think you have to be tough mentally to be able to play every day, to come to the ballpark and be ready to play on a day game after a night game, to maybe play with small injuries. You know, what Cal Ripken did playing in all those games in a row is just unbelievable. You know, over the course of, 20 years, how you can play every day without having an injury of some magnitude that's going to drop you out of the lineup. So I think a lot of it is mental. I think the great ones are able to adjust and are very mentally strong. Well, again, memorable it's two ways to look at it. I mean, on the field, certainly watching careers of guys like Nolan Ryan, Ivan Rodriguez, Adrian Beltre, guys that you watch and admire every day for what they do. You know, what Josh Hamilton was able to do, winning an MVP in 2010 and hitting 4 home runs in a game in 2000. You're in kind of awe what these guys can do and how they can carry the team and take you to the World Series and all of that kind of thing. There's also, just memorable moments of watching players do like Chu and the things he did in the community, or Michael Young, or I keep going back to Al Bunbury because he was really a guy, he would do anything for me in terms of making appearances back in the early 1980s. So memorable for me is kind of both ends, and memorable is, being able to go to Hall of Fame inductions for Nolan Ryan and for Ivan Rodriguez, and watching guys, at their retirement ceremonies, like for Adrian Beltre and things like that. Those are all memorable moments for me. In Boston, I had Daisuke Matsuzaka's first year in Boston, 2007. And then I had Yu Darvish's first year in Texas in 2012. And I realized the scrutiny that players, coming from the Far East or whatever, the scrutiny that's on them over here, and the people back there, and the jobs that the journalists have in trying to cover them. And what the glare is on them. And the good ones, it's amazing how they can kind of handle that with all the scrutiny on them. And all the, there'd be, when we had the first day, Matsuzaka was in Red Sox camp in 2007, we had 250 Japanese media. We had 7 or 8 networks, and just that scrutiny. And even with Darvish's first day here in camp, it was the same thing. And, this year in spring training, we've got, Arahara, Japanese player, we've got Yang, Korean player. And again, it's not the same numbers. Like everything else, there's just not as much media even then as there is now. No, it wasn't a huge surprise. With Korean media, I've had, Chan-Ho Park. I had Chu, obviously, 2 biggest players. This is really the first time I've worked with a player who had a lot of success in KBO and came over. Both Chan-Ho and Chu were, they didn't play in Korea. They started their careers, in the United States, and that was a little different. I can see the difference where Korean fans are used to seeing him pitch and everything in their league, and it's kind of interesting to see the difference. It's hard to see guys struggle with injuries, and like you said, it's hard to see guys who struggled with injuries and were never able to reach their potential. You know, that's got to be the hardest thing if you're a player, to say, well, you could have been great if this hadn't happened, and it's kind of beyond your control. And then you see players, you know, who played so hard, you know, and went so hard that their careers are shortened because they start having all these injuries. You know, Dustin Pedroia to me is the latest example of that with the Red Sox. That player was, you know, Pedroia was like he played so hard. He was the Red Sox team leader. Everybody looked to him. He dove for balls and everything. Well, then he hurt his knee, and he tried so hard to come back from that, and he couldn't. But those are, I always say, those are the players that left it all on the field. And you know, there are a number of players like that who do that. But it's hard. It's very hard. It's just amazing. You know, the feeling that I had in 1983 and 2000 with the Orioles and 2007 with the Red Sox. You know, it's kind of, you've accomplished the greatest thing in the sport. It's hard when you lose, you know, like the Rangers did in 2010, and especially in 2011 when we lost twice. You know, we were 1 out away in Game 6 of that World Series. But that's the thing I try to tell. Try to enjoy the experience. And it's hard to do when you're in PR because you've got so many. It just kind of intensifies the number of requests and the demands. And you've got, you know, in a normal year, you've got 2,000 media in your ballpark, you know, for the World Series. I got to see it in kind of a different perspective last fall when the World Series was in our ballpark, and I was kind of running the media part of it, but I wasn't emotionally or directly involved in the series. But that's the thing I try to tell people. Enjoy the experience because you don't know when you're going to get back.
And you just mentioned that. What was that like to watch another team that's not your team play in your ballpark and dealing with all this?
It was kind of weird. You know, I knew the Dodgers relievers. I could name them by heart, you know, because I was doing the announcing every night on who's warming up, and Dodgers were there for 16 games, so you know, it was a little different, but it was exciting. I mean, it was the first time there'd been fans in a major league ballpark, you know, all season. So it was exciting. I mean, and you know, and I was proud of the way our new ballpark kind of handled it all, and the exposure it got, you know, nationally and internationally. It was kind of sad because the media numbers were so small, because you know people didn't travel as much. But it was fun. It was fun. Well, the Rangers, for sure. I mean, my whole philosophy has been throughout my career, I'm going to root for the team I'm working for. And I would love to see the Rangers win the World Series because it's the other two organizations I've worked for, we've won the World Series. I've worked for the Rangers, this will be my 33rd year. And there would be nothing better. I mean, and it would be as much for the fans as anything. I mean, Ranger fans are obviously long-suffering, you know. This is our 50th season, never won a World Series, and that is one thing I would, you know, if I had one thing I would say I'd love to see before I retire or whatever, it's the Rangers win, and it's for the fans. I've been impressed. You know, you know, and again, it's a small sample. Looks like he's got a pretty good idea of how to pitch. Good location, knows how to change speeds, work the corners and everything. I mean, it seems that he's pretty durable. You know, if he makes our team, you know, he can pitch in several roles. He's pitched short. And he's also left-handed, which is a very valuable commodity. So no, I've been very impressed with the way he's kind of adjusted. And, you know, as our baseball people have said kind of over and over, you know, the fact that he has pitched so many innings last year, you know, in the KBO is so different than most of the pitchers that pitched last year. It's like Arahara. you know, who pitched in the NPB last year and pitched. I think we're going to need that because our younger pitchers, you know, they pitched 40 innings last year. I mean, and you can't go from 40 to 160 in 1 year. So, you know, it's been, I mean, I think that helps our staff immeasurably having guys like like I said, I think for me, you know, over as long as I have done this, it's just the relationships on a day-to-day basis. And knowing every day you don't know what you're going to see. You could see a no-hitter. You could see a player hit 4 home runs in a game. You could see a great catch. You could see so much in a game. And that's what keeps, like I said, bringing me back, is that and the relationships that I've made over so many years. I've been very fortunate to know Hall of Famers. I've been very fortunate to know great guys who never, you know, really had a great career. But when I look back or I see them, or, you know, there's always a memory that comes up. Like I said, I think it's that. You never know what you're going to see in the game. And just watching these athletes play the game, it's pretty cool.
Perfect.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay.
That's perfect.